There is a question neuroscience avoided for a long time, not because it wasn't important, but because it was uncomfortable. What happens to the human brain when identity is stripped away? Not forgotten accidentally, not changed naturally, but systematically removed. Name, language, ancestry, history, meaning. For decades, psychology framed identity as social. Anthropology framed it as cultural. Philosophy framed it as abstract. But neuroscience eventually had to face a harder truth. Identity is biological, and when it is disrupted for long periods of time, the brain does not simply adapt. It rewires itself for survival. This episode is not about feelings. It is not about blame. It is not about politics. This is about what brain scans, trauma research, memory studies, and neurobiology now confirm. When identity is lost, the brain does not stay the same. The human brain does not store memories randomly. Memory is organized around identity. Who am I? Where did I come from? Who came before me? These questions form the scaffolding for autobiographical memory. When neuroscientists study memory loss, they often focus on injury or disease, but prolonged identity disruption causes something different. The memories do not disappear. They become unstable. Studies on intergenerational trauma, displaced populations, and descendants of forced assimilation show a recurring pattern: reduced hippocampal coherence, fragmented autobiographical recall, memory retrieval that is emotionally charged but narratively incomplete. In simple terms, people remember feelings without stories. The brain knows something happened, but it cannot place it in time. This creates a looping effect. Unresolved memory becomes rumination. Rumination becomes anxiety. Anxiety becomes chronic stress. The brain stays alert, searching for context that no longer exists.
Identity functions as a compression algorithm for memory. Without it, the brain stores experiences inefficiently. This leads to increased cognitive load, emotional flooding, and impaired recall sequencing. In lay terms, the mind keeps opening files it no longer knows how to close.
And this doesn't just affect personal memory, it affects historical memory. When ancestry is erased or replaced with shame, the brain loses reference points. There is no before me, only me alone. And the brain is not built for isolation across time. The amygdala does not care about culture. It cares about safety, and identity is one of the brain's strongest safety signals. Belonging tells the nervous system, you are not alone. You are part of something enduring. You are protected by continuity. When that continuity is broken, the threat system compensates. Research on marginalized, disconnected, or identity-disrupted populations consistently shows heightened amygdala reactivity, faster threat detection, lower threshold for perceived danger. This is not paranoia. It is adaptation. A brain without stable identity learns to scan constantly. Tone becomes threat. Silence becomes threat. Difference becomes threat. This is why communities affected by long-term identity disruption often show hypervigilance, mistrust, quick emotional escalation. Not because of weakness, because the brain has learned there is no safe default.
So when people say, why are they so defensive? Or why is everything taken personally? They're missing the point. The brain is protecting a system that has been historically unsafe.
Exactly. This is not about attitude, it's about neurology. Emotional regulation depends on predictability. When the brain understands who it is, it can contextualize pain. But identity loss removes context. Emotions arrive without explanation. Anger without a clear source. Sadness without a story. Grief without a funeral. Neuroscientists see this in altered connectivity between prefrontal cortex, regulation, limbic system, emotion. The regulator becomes exhausted. The emotional system stays loud. This leads to patterns often misdiagnosed as personality flaws, emotional volatility, emotional numbness, shutdown followed by explosion. But these are not character defects. They are signs of a nervous system without grounding.
Chronic identity disruption mirrors the neural signature of complex trauma. The nervous system behaves as if the threat is ongoing, even when the environment appears stable.
Which explains something important. Healing cannot begin with behavior alone, because the brain is still asking, who am I allowed to be? The final cost of identity loss is not confusion. It is fragmentation. Neuroscience shows that a stable sense of self requires integration, past, present, future. When the past is erased or distorted, the self cannot fully integrate. This creates code switching beyond context, masking as survival, chronic self-monitoring. The brain learns to shift identities to stay safe, but safety comes at a cost. Authenticity feels dangerous. Stillness feels unsafe. Rest feels undeserved. And yet, the brain never forgets its original architecture. Studies now show that reconnection activates dormant neural pathways, language reclamation, ancestral storytelling, cultural grounding practices. These are not symbolic acts. They are neurobiological repair mechanisms.
So when people reconnect and say, I feel like myself for the first time, that's not poetry. That's neuroscience.
Identity loss changes the brain, but identity reconnection changes it too. This is where the argument ends, because the brain has already answered.